and just
Bro, of course, man. Of
doing
course,
this,
man.
bro. So I just want to kind of start diving into stuff, and we'll just have a real conversation like we normally do. And
That's right, man. Let's do it.
to be
Let's
honest
do
with
it.
you, it doesn't even matter about any craziness. So let's just get into it and do what we do. But
Yeah.
first of all, we're going live here with my brother, my friend, Elman Woodson. I just want to say thank everyone, all the listeners out there, for joining us on the Thrive, Believe, Achieve podcast. I'm your host, Montel Fleming, and today we're having my amazing brother, Elman Woodson, on the show. And let me just give you a quick bio of him. Elman Woodson is an attorney, an entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, and also he's an author. That was one of the main reasons why I brought him here today, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. He has a passion for helping and serving others. Elman's coaching business focuses on helping individuals and corporations reach their peak potential. He wholeheartedly believes in a mantra he adopted from Zig Ziglar: you can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough people get what they want. When
Yep.
he's not helping others, supporting his clients, and maximizing their performance, he pens books, inspiring his audience to tap into their limitless power. Elman also enjoys traveling, competing in triathlons, which is huge, and spending, of course, amazing time with his beautiful wife and boys, his two boys at home. So, Elman, I just want to say thank you again for joining us here. And let's just
Appreciate it,
dive
brother.
right in, bro. Let's dive right in. So, just a little caveat. Elman is one of my best friends, one of the guys that I go to about a lot of different things, even when talking about marriage and a whole lot of conversations. So I just want to let everybody know this is not just an authentic conversation. This is a real conversation, a real relationship. But honestly, I'm happy to watch my brother grow, excel, and change his life and take control of what he's doing. And so I wanted to have him here. But bro, I'm honored, obviously, to interview you for my podcast, and most importantly, to use my platform, obviously, to uplift and inspire, and everything that you stand for, as you and I talked about before, is really the reason why you're here. So I needed to have my boy
Appreciate
on
it, bro.
this show to talk about what we talk about all the time off show, off camera.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
so let's
Yes.
dive into that first question I have for you, L. Like, why look
Okay.
up? Why look up? The book Look Up. Why that title?
Man, it was because of the challenge of the journey. I think it was interesting, man. The whole story stems from my experience in law school. My experience in law school was not like this rosy experience where you hear people, I graduated magna cum laude and summa cum laude. That was not me.
Right.
That was not me by any stretch of the imagination. It was hard for me. It was a challenging time. Not only was it challenging in the educational aspect, but it was also challenging outside of school because I had a tough issue with my roommates. I had situations where the investments that I had were going belly up, and I was getting calls from attorneys and things like that. It was a very challenging time.
Right.
And it was a time where I thought, when I thought that as I was going through it, there were thoughts in my mind that I'm already there's no chance of me becoming an attorney because I was already facing these other issues and challenges.
Right.
And so it was in a tough spot. And the thing about it is the reason why I even wrote the book was because in life, man, we all go through tough things. We all go through challenges. And if you keep your mindset with the idea that I can do this, I can make this happen, regardless of the situation, then you can.
Right.
And the title came from really one of my roommates in my second year of law school. And I had two guys, one girl, and myself. We were all sharing this house. But the girl she's like my sister right now. We were really into mindset development. Les Brown, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, and just always would be listening to this stuff on a regular basis. And if I heard something, I'd just send it to her. If she heard something, she'd send it to me. And we were just in this together, and it really helped me at that time. And I remember one time we were studying one night, and then we just started talking about, I was telling her about my challenges in law school and some of the things that happened to me. And we had just finished listening to some Les Brown, matter of fact.
Right.
And one of the things that he said was, in life, if you fall down, try to land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. And for some reason that rang so, like it just rang in my ears. And I remember she said, you know what, Look Up is a great title. And I was like, Look Up, that's a great title.
Right. Yeah.
And so it just stuck with me.
Right.
And the thing about it, Marcel, is that, at that moment, I didn't go ahead and just start writing the book right then and there. This book has been inside of me for 10 years, over 10 years.
Crazy.
Over 10 years. And then I started struggling with the doubts that I could even get it done, doubts that I could even, the hesitation that I could even have enough in a book to put in a book to help somebody. Yeah. That there's anything that I started having doubts that there was anything in my life that could be helpful to anybody. And once I had to get past that stuff. I had to get past those limiting beliefs to believe that I could do something to help people. Mm-hmm. And then finally, when I started to finally believe in myself and get this stuff done, I got the book out. It's the craziest thing. And so, since I have it here with me, this book,
oh yeah,
Look Up.
Oh yeah,
this book, Look Up, man, has not only did I get it done, I thank God I got it done, but after now hearing people's responses to the book and how now they're going to send it to their kids, or they're going to have some of their kids read the book and they're going to pass it on to other people. And man, it shows me that the biggest challenge most people have is the belief that they can do it, the belief that they have something to bring to the table, the belief that they can change someone's life. Because, we all grow, and Marcel, just stop me whenever you want to stop me. Otherwise,
No, you're good, bro. Look, I told you, I want to have a conversation, so this is what we do. So I need this to continue. So
this is what we do.
We'll pivot into question 2 in a minute, but go ahead, keep talking, man. I just want you to, I want you to be you.
It showed me, man, that we have to start to really build up our faith, man. I'll tell you, I'm at this point now, Marcel, where, I am rarely even listening to anything that has anything to do with doubt, unbelief, throwing my mindset off. I am not even at that point where I'm even entertaining anything that's contrary to what I'm believing about what I want to get done.
No, makes sense.
Because, and you and I have talked about this, man.
Right.
You have to have such a firm belief that you can do what you want to do. You have to have such a firm belief that you can make it happen, mm-hmm. that you cannot even allow for anything else to distract you. Because if you do, it'll be a minute that'll be gone. Then it'll be 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Then it'll be 60 minutes, an hour. Then it'll be a day, then a week. And you get caught up in these little fogs of entertaining yourself, or caught up in this fog of doubt and hesitation, caught up in this idea of, okay, I'll just put it off for tomorrow. And next thing you know, a year is gone. Yeah. 5 years are gone. 6 years, 10 years, a decade. And then you have this idea, then you have this thing of, I wish, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Right.
Now, man, the best way to start doing something is doing it now. There's no way in my mind I would have thought that it would have taken me 10 years to write this book, but it took me 10 years to get this book out.
There you go.
And, maybe it was the way it was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Because, maybe I added some more color to the book that I may not have been able to provide otherwise, but this is what happened for me. And, what I would say to anybody is like, listen, you can do it. Those dreams that came to you came directly to you. They didn't go to anybody else.
Right.
They came to you.
Right.
And it's up to you to make it happen. And if I were you, looking back at it, as soon as something comes to your mind, start doing something, even towards something small mm-hmm. towards it. Mm-hmm. Start taking the steps. And as you do that, things will start to open up to you. People, opportunities, ideas, they'll start to happen, but you have to take that first step. So that's a long way of saying, man, that's how the title of Look Up came.
Man, that's what I wanted to hear, man. That's what I want the listeners to hear, because I think, like I said, it's about having inspirational conversations. But I want people to know you can do this in your everyday life. You can do it with your spouse. You can do it with, your partners. Yes. You can do it with your best friends. You can do it with your bros, your sisters, whoever is in your crew, your circle, right? Like, to me, that's huge. Right. We got to have more of an impactful conversation with one another to actually help uplift each other, because it ain't easy going out here chasing this life called success, right? It's going to be peaks and valleys, but the reality is I much rather know that I know who I can go to when even I'm at my worst, and know that I can get something from you and you don't even know it. It's something that you said to me and it's like, hey, man, El just said something to me and it spoke to my heart. And clearly I needed that. And let me go out here and stop making excuses and make things happen, right? So for me, it's just more about being present, being focused on what you are and the relationships you are. You never know who's going to get some advice and get some help from you, and vice versa. So for me, I think that's big, and we got to start doing that more, having more meaningful relationships and no surface level crap.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah,
What you just said was just like so true. I love what you just said. You said we have to start having more meaningful, impactful conversations, not these surfacey conversations. Yeah. Hey, you okay? Yeah. Cool. And then just move. No. Yeah. How you doing, bro? Let's talk. Like, what's going on? Those meaningful, impactful conversations. Look, I care about you. Yeah. I love you. I want to know how you're doing. I care. I want to know. You know?
Yeah.
I think there was a saying that this guy used to tell me, man. He said, nobody cares how much you know unless they know how much you care.
There you go.
And if you show that care, that those, just like you said, those meaningful, impactful conversations, those deeper, more involved conversations, man, the friendships that you have will be more full.
Yeah,
more full of like more life, man.
Most definitely. And I'll be honest with you, 100%. To me, it really even takes it to a level of I don't even consider us friends anymore. We talk about this all the time. We're extended family. We're brothers, right? So for me, it starts being in life what you really, really feel, what you really, really mean. So for me, I don't have a friendship with you. I have a brotherhood with you. I share, we might not share the same parents, but then we share the same lineage. So then we're gonna be brothers, And so for me, that's the thing. And so let's dive into something that honestly in the book. We kind of talked about it a little bit. My next question, obviously, is on focused kind of on failing, but I wanted to talk about that time when you had to have that discussion. I know everybody who's read the book, but the people who haven't had it, I'm trying not to give too much to it because I want them to read it. But there are certain parts of this book that I wanted to talk about because I think it's just some critical life examples and things that people can hold on, meat and potatoes. Hey, if I do this, I can get this. And not saying it has to be your way per se, but they can come up with their own way. But when you had to talk to mom and dad, that conversation in chapters 1 and 2, right? Giving both perspectives of, okay, I just had this major fail in my life, right? And it's got me down, but I know I can't stay down. I got to get back up. I got to shake myself, brush myself off, and I got to focus. But tell me about that conversation and what it was like to be El, the young man that just literally felt like the weight of the world on his shoulders, and I just failed mom and dad and failed myself and all of this stuff and having to have this conversation. Because I need people to be inspired today to understand that I don't care what the failures are. You are not your failures. Those are learning experiences. We need to empower ourselves to look different, look up, like you said, and start looking and embracing these obstacles. That's exactly what it is, an obstacle. Let's embrace it and let's do the hard work to getting the problem solved. So talk to us about that, man, because I think that was a powerful part of that whole conversation, and the two dynamics, the answers, right? Mom's approach versus dad's, right? I was like, wow,
Yeah. Oh, man. So I'll tell you, man, that was one of the, that was definitely one of the low moments in my life, man. It was one of the, and I think it was, it's one of those things, us as young men, Montel, you and I are both kind of type A. We want to accomplish, we want to get things done, we want to become, we want to take care of our families. The decisions that we make aren't just for us.
Right.
The decisions that we make are for our kids, for our wives, for our families, for our making our parents proud, making our family proud. And so when I went through that challenge, man, it was one of those things where it was tough, man.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was tough. I still remember when I got that letter, and I didn't know exactly how to approach my family. I didn't know exactly how to approach my dad. I didn't know exactly how to approach my mom. I just knew that I had to tell them, and I had to figure out a way to tell them. I knew that if I went to my dad would potentially provide me a little bit more grace than my mom would. I know my mom.
Yeah, of course.
So I went to my dad, and I just told him the situation. Like, listen, I don't know how to tell you this, man. Because, he called, hey, son, how you doing? And I'm like, oh, here I go. Having to deliver bad news.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole nother lesson even in that. It's just like, deliver the news, man.
Right.
Nothing is really bad. Nothing is really good. You just deliver the news.
Right.
Deliver it.
Right.
Step up to the plate. Be grown about it. Accept the responsibility of the decisions that you've made,
mm-hmm.
and deliver the news.
Right.
Because sometimes we get hesitant. I remember I'm completely going off on a tangent here, but
no, you're good.
Just with even with work, sometimes you have these situations where you have to deliver some bad news to a boss, or deliver some bad news to a manager or someone who's above you or whatever. Just deliver the news, man.
Yeah.
Deliver the news. You're not tied to that news. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
You are not that news.
Right. Right.
So in that instance, I just delivered I told my dad, listen, I'm gonna have to come home, man. At that time I didn't know if I was gonna come home or not. I just told him, I said, listen, I'm no longer able to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
And he, we went through the conversation about why and what happened. And I told him, said, listen, I asked him, I didn't tell him, I asked him if I'd be able to return home. And his response to me was like, of course, you're my son.
Right.
Of course. It's not like you went out here and did anything crazy. You tried something,
right, and
it didn't work, but at least you tried. And then when I talked to him about that, even in that instance, it was like that grace, man, that the love of a father,
mm-hmm.
the love of a parent. It was just like, you attempted something that no one else in our family has even tried.
Right.
And, you may not have finished the race the way you thought you would have, but at least you tried.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so comforting to me. It really was. It was just like, wow, thanks, man. I really appreciate that, that you would even say that. And, I cried. I still felt terrible, but
of course,
I still, that comfort, that was like an embrace through the phone, like a hug through the phone, and I needed that at the time.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I knew I had to follow that up, so I didn't stay there.
Right.
But I knew I had to follow that up with a call to my mom.
Yeah, of course. That call had to be had, right? Yeah. Definitely.
And I knew I had to call my mom, and I didn't know exactly how to tell her other than to just come out and say it. And I approached her the same way, like, listen, this is what happened, and I'm thinking that I might have to come home. Well, first her response was like, I think it was like, what are you going to do?
Right.
Almost as if she anticipated me saying that I was going to stay in Pittsburgh and work from there. But
right.
I asked her, I was like, would it be okay if I came home? And her immediate response was no.
Right.
You can't go home.
Right.
So it's like a punch in the gut, and it was like a literal punch in the gut.
Right.
And, knowing now knowing my mom, I know my mom. I know how she's going to handle things just because of how she was brought up. But with her, it's more about tough love rather than like, that's not to say she doesn't have those periods where she like hugs you.
No, of course.
With us, me and my brother, man, there was more instances of the tough love, and this was an aspect of that. But her way wasn't just to say like, no, you can't come home. It was almost as if to say, I'm not going to let you give up on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to hear about the fact that you're not gonna make something happen for yourself. I don't want to hear that you're not gonna finish what you started. Mm-hmm. See, for her, it wasn't like that I had failed.
Right.
It was now I want you to figure out how you are gonna get yourself back in and finish what you started.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, when I think of that, it's the dichotomy between how my dad responded versus how my mom responded.
Right.
My dad was like, I can love you. You can figure all that stuff out later. My mom was like, you're going to figure it out now. You're going to think about it, and you're going to make it happen for yourself.
Right.
And it's just like, in a funny way, I needed both of them.
Right.
And I didn't realize that at the time. I thought it was just, mom was just being mean.
Right. Of course.
I thought it was just my mom not really loving me the way I thought I needed to be loved. But in reality, you know, it's just like with our parents expect a lot out of us.
Yep.
And they don't want us to give into the status quo of just chill. Because they realize you don't have time to chill. You're going to come back home. You're going to figure out what you're going to do. I'm going to make it uncomfortable for you. You're not going to be here living the life, chilling out and just doing what you want to do. No, you're going to pay some rent.
Right.
You're going to get yourself a job. You're going to get yourself in a course. Like, it's just all this stuff. And I think about it. It's like, some people might look at it and be like, "Dad, that's kind of rough," but no, not really. Not really. I was a grown man.
Right.
Right. And it wasn't time for me to be coddled. It wasn't time for me to be, because who knows? I don't know what would have happened. But I think, if I would not have had that, who knows? I don't know if I would have acted as with such focus as I did that year.
Yep.
I mean, I think I would, just because of what my parents had placed on the inside of me. And like, me, I would have just gone for something. I would have done something. But it was almost as if my mom was like, "Look, I don't care what they said. You're going back."
Yeah.
And it's going to happen within a year.
Yeah. You got to pivot. Like, we're not going to sit here and make no excuses for it. So we got to pivot.
No.
We got to figure out what the next thing is. And if that's still the goal, how can we get there? But we just got to do a pivot right now. It's called a life shift.
Yes.
I got to do something different right now to get me back and refocus and recalibrate what I'm trying to do. And because it's not like you're not going to, just because you failed at something doesn't mean that you can't still go out and achieve it, right? So for me, it's like, I think that was a big lesson. And that's actually what I took from it. And my daughter even read your book, and she was like, "Dad, like,
wow,
this is crazy. Like, like, how did, like, this right here is going to inspire me even in my path, because I'm trying to figure things out. Young college and going into sophomore year, like, it ain't been easy freshman year trying to figure it out." I was like, "Yeah, well, you're going to have some staying power. I'm a little bit. I told you, I'm a little bit of your mom in that reproach. I ain't gonna make it comfortable for you. I need you to understand that, that you're gonna have to go through some things, some adversity." And now, honestly, let's talk about that, because honestly, I want to expand on the importance of going through the adversities in life that we face, and obviously using your example, which I think is great to teach people. There's a teaching moment, like the law school situation, right? And what the importance and how it was so important for you to go through this and figure this out, and then still be able to persevere and figure out, okay, what's my next move? What's the next strategy? What can I do to get myself back to law school? So let's talk about that. How do you feel like that helped you with that pivot once you got down off the emotions and figured things out and processed mom's approach versus dad's, and then realized that really all they both was trying to figure out was like, "Hey, we ain't gonna let you give up on yourself. So let's figure it out. What's next?" So let's talk about that, just to kind of help some people in regards to figuring out how to persevere and stop, losing sight of the goal just because right now it's delayed appreciation, right? Because that's really all it is. Delayed gratification. You ain't getting it right now.
That's all it is.
That doesn't mean you can't get it, because clearly you're a living example of that, right? So let's talk about that to the people out here.
Yeah. So, it's interesting because in that moment, so just transitioning from like that point where I had communicated to them the situation, where my mom had said what she said, my dad said what he said, and I remember it was almost like at a certain point where they, my dad and my mom, because they both had to end up talking and figure out what they were going to do, and but what I realized in that moment was that failure, obstacles, they happen to all of us. Like, look, if you're living life, if you're living this thing called life, you're going to have ups and downs, ebbs and flows, success, regression. You're going to have progression, regression. It's going to happen. It doesn't fail. It doesn't just say, okay, this group of people get this, and this group of people. No. All of us are going to go through it. And what I learned from that, the biggest thing that I learned was that you are not your failure. You are not your failure. You are not your obstacle. You are not your obstacle.
Right.
The obstacle happens, but it's just a bump in the road. I would consider it like a speed bump. You have to slow down. You have to get ready for to go over the hump. But then once you go over the hump, you have to keep going. And I think the biggest thing that I learned from all of this experience was that no matter what the situation is, no matter what the challenge is, keep going.
Right.
like there's certain points where it's almost like the universe, God gives you this wake up call where you have to kind of just God slows you down for a certain moment to get your attention, to make you refocus on who you are, refocus on what you believe about yourself, refocus on doing the things that you, and almost kind of humble you a little bit to make you think, make you recognize that, listen, you need me.
Right.
You need me more than I need. You need me.
There you go.
And the only way that you're going to get through this is if you focus your attention on me, which is God, and then focus your attention on building yourself up. Focus your attention on getting the small things done that you need to get done.
There you go.
And so that pivot that you talk about, I love that pivot where you have to like readjust, almost like you have to downshift. If you're driving you have to downshift and reassess who you are. Reassess the fire that's on the inside of you. Put some more charcoal on the fire, some more stick on the fire, and get yourself, and notice what I'm saying here. I'm saying get yourself back in line. Get yourself refocused on your dreams. Get yourself refocused on the things that you want to get accomplished, because nobody else is going to do it for you. No, nobody else is going to do it. Yes, you're going to have people who might help you, either, in certain ways to kind of just like say, like, I'm not going to let you give up on yourself. But how many times can a person say, I'm not going to let you give up on yourself if you don't want it yourself? You have to want it. You have to want the success. You have to want the you have to enjoy the push. And I'm not sure if people listen to David Goggins. Sometimes he's kind of rough on the way he approaches things.
Yeah, of course.
But
of course.
His underall message is you have to keep pushing yourself. You have to push yourself harder than anybody else will push you.
Right.
And I love that message because when I think about what happened to me in this book and in this experience, like I determined in myself that, so I know you read the book. There's a part in there where when I was leaving for school, I drove around the school a couple times, and then I told the school I'll be back. Now I didn't plan that. Like it wasn't something I planned. I didn't plan to say that. I didn't like consciously say, okay, I'm gonna pack up my bags and I'm gonna drive to the school and then drive around it. No, it just came to me to say it. And maybe I had to say it and get it out so that way I could believe it myself, and then, or maybe I just had to say it so I could just, I could say like, wow, what did that mean,
Yeah, most definitely.
But it was one of those things where I had to make a determination in my mind. This is what I want. This is what I came here to do, and doggone it, I'm going to do it.
Right.
Now, I did that after receiving a letter of not to return. So
exactly.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't in a sense.
Look, it doesn't make sense, but look, I'll tell you what. The Bible, and I'm about to get a little spiritual here, the Bible is not a book that's written to make sense.
Right.
The Bible is not a book that's written to make sense. The Bible says, speak those things that be not as though they were. Speak it.
There you go.
Life and death is in the power of the tongue. That's true.
Yes, it is.
And it says these things. It says these things, and that's why we have to think about it and meditate on it, because those words ring true for everything that we do, and no matter what it is, not just for us getting a parking spot out here or just making a turn or no, God has ways of doing things. If we learn how he does those things and trust the process, it'll happen for you.
There you go.
And so, sorry, man, I just kind of got off on a tangent.
No, man, actually, you're good. You're good, because I'm actually about to set you up. Because honestly, I want to explain importance, because part of what you were doing was setting intentions, right? But the other part of what you were doing was recalibrating and setting a new goal. You were goal setting, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about the importance of obviously setting a goal. And there's a part in the book that people will read. And again, for all of those people, get your lookup copy today on all platforms, Amazon, you name it, get it. It's important. It's going to really, really bless you. I'm this guy's friend. I've known him for a few years, but I'm going to tell you something. I learned a lot more about my brother and what makes him tick and what makes him who he is. And it actually gave me even greater respect and a new purpose of my own challenges and what I'm dealing with. So I'm just saying, like, we need this. We need this in your life. So get this copy. But let's talk about that goal setting, right? And honestly, you talked about in the book about doing little small steps, listing small steps of things to get accomplished, to get started. So let's talk about that in regards to how you did that, right? We're now obviously pivoting from, oh, I got to give up on this for a minute. I'm still here. It's still going to be top of mind, but I got to pivot real quick, go back home, figure it out, make some small steps, and then figure out what I'm going to do to get this accomplished. So let's talk about that. Like, how did that come about for you? How did you process that? So you can give some game to the listeners out here.
Yeah. Because I mean, for me, the ultimate goal was getting back in.
Right.
The ultimate goal was returning and getting the job done, finishing the job, and finishing the goal. That was the goal, man. And so for me, I had to ask myself, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make this happen? God, what's the best way for me to do this? Mm-hmm. And then I had to be quiet. I had to still my mind and listen. And, one thing that I'm really working on now, Marcel, is about listening to my intuition. Mm-hmm. Listening to the answers that come. Because I remember one time I was talking to my mentor, and I was dealing with something a couple months ago, and I was talking to him, and he was like, did you ask yourself the question? I said, yeah, I asked myself the question. And then he was like, and were you still, and did you hear the response? Right. And I was like, whoa, that's good. Yeah. That's really good, man. He said, no. He said, what came to you? So the thing about it, when I heard that, I just really had to think about that, because God is always talking.
Right.
He's always giving you guidance. The question is, are you listening? Mm-hmm. And so, in a lot of cases, God will, He may not give you everything. Like, He may not give you the whole step. He may not give you the whole path that you need to take, but He will give you one little step.
Right.
To give you the next step after that. Mm-hmm. He'll illuminate the next step, mm-hmm. and then illuminate the next step. Mm-hmm. But we're not willing to listen. We're not intentional about listening to our intuition, mm-hmm. and being one.
Right.
And it's hard.
Right.
So I'm saying all I have to say is that what I had to do was I had to really start to think, break down what made sense to me in terms of getting back into school. Right. So one thing that I did was I had a good relationship with one of the deans. Right. I had a very good relationship with another guy who was an alumni of Pittsburgh, and they both had the ear of the dean. Mm-hmm. I had also got into an MBA program and studied for finance there, and I was also working a job.
Right.
And so what I did was I became very intentional about letting them know that I want to give back, and these are the things that I'm doing to try to get back into school. Mm-hmm. And I stayed on them. Right. I stayed on them, and I began to slowly break down. I said, like, listen, if I focus on getting this MBA program really knocked out, keeping good, making sure that I get my high grades, like really good grades, mm-hmm. and also really focusing on, let them know what books that I'm reading, right. All these things that just show my desire to want to learn, my desire to become successful, my desire to make something happen for myself, my desire to make things different when I get back, then I can do that. Mm-hmm. Then I can get back. Right. And I believe nothing else. I believe that I can get it back if I just stayed the course, if I focused on making things happen for myself, not trying to get to the point where I wanted them to feel bad for me. No, I want them to see that I'm working, that I'm willing to do what it is that I have to do. I'm not looking for a handout. Yeah. I'm looking for them to see, like, listen, okay, this guy is serious about getting back in. Let's give him another chance because he's doing this, he's doing this, he's doing this, he's doing this. And nobody can make an excuse. I'm not sitting here looking for an excuse. I'm willing to put in the hard work. I'm taking self-responsibility for my actions. Yes, I messed up, mm-hmm. but I want to get back together. I want to get it back together. I want to have a clean slate. Yeah, there might be some probation. I understand. Right. But if there is, that's fine. I can deal with that. Mm-hmm. But if you let me back in, I will not let this go.
Right.
So it was one of those things where I knew that there was a level of my own self-responsibility I had to take on. I had to do things in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I stayed in touch with the dean.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was very instrumental in letting me know, like, listen, if you do this, you have to be very serious about getting it done.
Right.
In terms of the MBA program, in terms of staying in touch with him, in terms of letting the other alumni know.
Right.
I asked the alumni who was, he had his own firm, pretty large firm out in the University of Pittsburgh. Out in Pittsburgh, he has a large firm out there. And I told him the situation. He knew everything that was going on. You know, because of our relationship, I asked him to just simply speak to the dean on my behalf.
Right.
And he attempted to. He did.
Right.
So, you know, I had people who were willing to put bugs in the ears of the people who could potentially get me back in. And it's like all of these little steps. Like, it wouldn't have been, I don't think I would have had the same level of success of getting back in if I would have just said, okay, maybe I'll just have them talk to the dean for me.
Right.
And I didn't do all those other things. I didn't work and find a job.
Yes.
And let them know that I was working. Or if I didn't go through the challenges that I was facing to try to get back in. If I didn't do all of those things, I think it took all of that to get me back in.
Of course.
It wasn't just like a one and done thing, or then just like asking for somebody to please forgive me, please like me. No, it's not like that.
Right.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Yep.
I needed to take full responsibility for everything that was going on, and I was willing to put in the work. I was willing to be uncomfortable. Look, there were a lot of long, sleepless nights.
I can imagine.
You know?
Yep.
And you know what else? Like Marcel, I put in the book, man.
Yeah.
Look, nothing was beneath me.
No. And clearly it wasn't.
No.
Yeah. And I
nothing was beneath me, man.
I think that's what we all got to get out of our egos, right? Because, you know, that's the big deal, right? You know, the Jeff, you know, the fear of, you know, judgment, you know, ego, and the fear, obviously, you know, and fear itself, right? You know, so it's like, you know, I'm worried about, you know, all of these other things, but really, what's my call here? So, like, you got to get the ego out. Like, I'm willing to do whatever it needs to take for me to get back into this opportunity, and if that means taking this job at this time, at this moment, it is what it is. It's all the gauntlet, right? So, you know, I think that's a big lesson. So let's talk about something, because, you know, I'm glad because you even kind of previewed to it when we were having the conversation starting out. But that Les Brown quote, man, in regards to a setback is a setup for your comeback, man. Let's talk about that. Because I think that's why I said, like, this book is so empowering, because not only did it talk about a particular issue and a challenge, but then it talked about obviously working yourself back to the process of going back to, again, pivoting to getting you back to where you were going. What the whole goal was from the end game was to finish law school, right? So let's talk about that quote, and obviously the challenges, obviously, and being critical to responding to the comeback in the way that you did by taking this head on, saying, listen, I'm going to do this, and a culmination of these things together to get me back to University of Pittsburgh. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, man. So, you know, again, so one thing I realize is that, again, we are all going to face challenges.
Right.
Like, none of us are immune to challenges, you know? But it's not about the challenges per se. It's really about what you learn from the challenge, how you grow through the challenge. Because a challenge is not one of those things where you can just get off the highway and take a detour. Right. Sometimes there are going to be some challenges where you're going to have to just go through it in order to learn the lesson that you need to learn. Right. And none of us know exactly which ones we're going to have to go through.
Right.
Sometimes we'll be able to get off and take a detour, but there'll be other times where you're stuck in between exits.
True.
And you can't get off.
That's true.
You just have to wait it out and go through it. And Les Brown, just like you said, he says a setback is a setup for a comeback. Listen, in a lot of cases, because of the challenges that I faced in law school, I would say that I'm much stronger now than I was back then because of the challenges that I faced in law school.
Right.
Because of the setbacks that I had. Now things don't shake me as much as they did back then.
Right.
You know, the challenges that I faced at that time. Now I could shake that off and be like, you know what, we can move on through that. That's not a big deal at all.
Right.
You know, sometimes we look at these things, these mountains, these molehills, and because we haven't built ourselves up, because we haven't gone through much, we look at it as a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is that once you climb that molehill and you look down and then you look up and you see more mountains,
Right.
You're like, what was that? That's nothing.
Right, exactly.
That's nothing.
Yep.
And the thing about it is that I was it's one thing that I thought was awesome and really awesome from Jim Rohn, what he used to say is that, as you're going through life, let it find you climbing the next mountain, not sliding down an old one.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that so fascinating because that goes to the idea of constantly keep moving, keep going, keep pushing yourself towards your next thing, because as you're doing, you're building something.
Yeah.
You may not know exactly what you're building up, but you are building your fortitude, you're building your stamina, you're building your mental strength, your internal peace about how to deal with things, your ability to stay calm and peaceful during situations. Like sometimes the other day, I had this really kind of strange situation happen. But what I learned from that situation, and just like after thinking about it and just pondering it in my mind, is how to not react,
right,
but to learning how to respond. So reaction is just like, as soon as somebody does something, I respond, but I react right back to them. As opposed to responding takes a level of thinking, a level of mental awareness. And these are lessons that you learn. Like sometimes, and another thing is that sometimes you won't be able to get to the next level of thinking, next level of growth until you deal with certain things. And you constantly keep dealing with those certain things until you get to the point where you have learned how to master it. Right. And if you haven't learned how to master it, you'll keep on dealing with it. That's why life is the way it is. Yeah. Life is about growth and development. There's no way we're going to completely all have it all together.
Nope. Not at all.
But we have to keep learning.
Yeah.
We have to keep developing, keep growing, keep striving, keep pushing ourselves to become better. So yes, life is a setback is nothing but a setup for a comeback.
There you go.
And as you have those setbacks, ask yourself, journal, ask yourself, what was that situation about? Ask yourself, what could I have done better? How could I have improved my response to that situation? How could I have made it a win-win situation as opposed to a win-lose situation, whereas, I win the argument, this person, no. Right. How can we both win?
Right.
Yep. Look, can I forgive that person and move on with my life? Because sometimes we can't move forward because we haven't learned how to forgive.
Bam.
Sometimes we can't even, because we're so focused on our angst against that person.
Right.
We're not even thinking about that person. Not even thinking about you anymore, and you're still sitting thinking about how you don't like that person, you don't want them around. Come on, man! It's time to grow up.
Yep.
It's time to grow up. It's time to take some responsibility for yourself and your own actions.
Yep.
And stop worrying about what other people have going on. Focus on what you have going on. Focus on your growth, your mentality. Focus on what you can do better. Focus on how you can become better and do better and be better. How you can utilize your time more wisely and more succinctly. How you can become more proficient and more efficient, more focused on your dreams and your goals. That's what I'm talking about. When I say a setback is a setup for a comeback, all of that is involved in the comeback.
Yep.
When you have those setbacks, that setback is there for you to grow. Let me say one more thing.
No, you good, bro. You good. You good. Go ahead.
Is that because as I'm talking to you, man, these little things keep dropping in my mind, man.
Yeah.
We wouldn't know the greatness of a Michael Jordan unless he had challenges to overcome.
Yep.
For him, I know that's a very simplistic way of looking at it, but it's a very great analogy because we wouldn't know a Michael Jordan unless he was breaking records, unless he was beating the top people at the time.
Right.
Like in order to beat those people, that fierceness, that competitiveness, that willingness to, like, I'm not going to lose this, is the mentality that we have to take. We have to embrace. We have to take that on.
Right.
Like we wouldn't. If Michael Jordan was a pushover to his dreams, because what he wanted 6 championships. He got 6 championships. Do you think he was able to have the mindset of, I'll just push it off till tomorrow. No, he was in the gym working.
Right.
He was in the weight room working it out. He was always pushing himself to be better and to become better and become stronger and to score more, to figure out how to facilitate his team. He was always working on it, always work on it. Mm-hmm. Look, I'll go to boxing. Mayweather, have you ever watched this guy train?
Yeah, I have.
This guy stays in the gym.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I really like about him is that, like, while he's running, he's telling himself, I am the best. Right. Can't nobody beat me. Mm-hmm. Now, and he says a whole bunch of things. He says all kinds of things, but positive, he's just speaking it to himself.
Positive affirmations. Yep.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that for ourselves?
Yep.
Why don't we do that? The other day I was thinking about, like, the fact that man, I want to be great at business. Right. So I told myself, I am awesome. Right. I am great at business. Mm-hmm. I am focused. I am driven. Mm-hmm. I am passionate about my goals. This is what I'm getting to the point myself, man, where I'm telling myself this stuff every day. Like, I'm getting to the point where I am not going to allow myself to become idle or become stagnant in the way that I think about myself or my situation. Because the thing about it is, listen, your situation will talk to you.
Yes, it will.
Your situation, and then don't let other people start talking to you, because they'll do the same thing. They'll start talking to you, making you doubt yourself, making you not believe that you can make some things happen for yourself. You have to have the belief, the unshaken belief that you are going to make it happen for yourself.
That's right.
And you have to know that that's going to happen. So yeah, setback is a setup for a comeback. All of that is part of the comeback.
There you go.
All of that is part of the comeback, man.
Man, again, these gems, like, again, for all those listeners out there, Look Up is the name of the book by the amazing Elman Woodson. I need y'all to get it, copy it, get it on your screens, get it wherever you need to get it, but you need to get this book. It's going to empower you. It's funny, man, you were talking about those things, right? And just using the example of Michael Jordan and all this other stuff. And then, obviously, the importance of positive reaffirmations and affirming your position in life and speaking it, right? Like, we don't realize something. This is probably one of the best gifts that we have, that God gave us, the ability to speak, which is why I choose I choose my words carefully when I speak, because I don't want to be used in a way that's ever going to do harm to others, right? And I didn't going to show that I wanted to do harm on myself. So I want to be careful about what I let come out of this mouth, right, out of my instrument, put it out in the atmosphere into the world. But then also in teaching my kids, it's like, look, like, the reality is, like, you can have whatever it is you want in life. If you put it out into existence, speaking to existence, you don't think it's attracting to you as well. The thing is when you get it and when will you accomplish it? But the reality is, if you believe it, it's going to happen, right? Jordan, honestly, people forget this. We talk about failures today. He was a failure at first. He didn't necessarily make the varsity team in high school and all of those different things. And there was adversities he faced to become the greatest, right? So, in order for us to be able to pivot and do those things, Floyd Mayweather, same thing. He lost in the Olympics, but honestly, he killed that dude, right? But he could have took that and like, okay, you know what? Like, the reality is, like, I'm gonna wallow in self-pity. He reaffirmed his mind, changed his process. Is like, I'm gonna be the best at what I do, and I'm gonna do it at a high level, and I'm gonna be able to do it, and ain't nobody gonna tell me anything different, right? So we gotta believe in what we speak and what we put out into the atmosphere by the voice that we use, right? And claiming and owning your voice. So, I would challenge all listeners out there to just say it, put it out there. Don't let it be, in the back of your mind. Your subconscious is playing tricks on you because it wants to keep you to playing safe. Like, you don't need to be playing safe. Don't play from condition of, this is why a lot of people never really achieve that dream that they want, right? Because they're always playing it safe. They're worried about what somebody's opinions are, what they feel, what they believe. And I think we need to step out of that. So, bro, I'm glad that you brought these gems out. And that's why I told you I wanted to just let you talk and dive into it, because I think it's important for people to hear that. And then let's talk about something else, man. Like, I know your wife and your family means everything to you, right? Let's talk about, obviously, there's a part of the book, and again, guys, Look Up. You need to read it. But there's a part in there where you talk about, even after you pass the bar, right? You've accomplished that goal, right? Now the next, or pass law school, but now it's like, okay, I gotta get my bar license. I gotta be a practicing attorney. So the first step to that is I gotta go and pass the bar, whether we're talking about Maryland or New York, right? Talk about that time. Honestly, you said it took a couple of times. What, 6, 7 times? Did I read that right? That you took
seven times,
bro.
Seven
and
times.
then your wife is like, no, like, we're not going to wallow in self-pity. Again, this is the important of why, who you associate with, who you put in your life, whether it's your spouse, your family, or whatever, it matters, right? Because she could have let you wallow in self-pity and say, okay, I'll go out here and just take my MBA and the fact that I got my JD and use that on my credentials and put it on my resume and go out and get a job, right? And then go from there. But she's like, no, babe, do it again. Like you barely missed it the last time, so you can get this. Come on, right? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how having that alignment and that purpose with somebody that's your best, your partner in life, how that does also matter to to what you do. So just helping the people understand it. Even I know a lot of people are like, well, marriage is one thing, but I'm also single. You can still accomplish this by being, thinking about this from a single mindset too. It could be your friends, it could be the people in your sphere of influence that you put around you. You surround yourself around the right people, they're going to tell you the things that you need to hear, not the things that you want to hear. And I think that matters too. So let's talk about that.
Hello, man. I think, man, see, this is why I talk with you, bro, because you, just like you just said, man, that alignment. Yeah. Right? That alignment, man. Who are you aligning yourself with? Are you aligning yourself with people who are going to support you? Are you aligning with people who are going to support your goals no matter how crazy they are? Right. Are you aligning yourself with people who can tell you you can do it? Are you aligning with yourself with people who can say, you know what? You may not want to do it that way. You may want to think about doing it this way, as opposed to saying you can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, who are you aligning yourself with? This message goes to anyone, married or not married. It doesn't matter. Like, it's just like you said, if you have aligned yourself with the right people, because you have to start to really take a good look at who you have aligned yourself with. And in some cases, maybe you've aligned yourself with the wrong person, but you have to be honest with yourself. You can lie to everybody else, but you can't lie to yourself. There you go. Who are you aligning yourself with is the question. Right. So I'm saying all that to say, man, that in that situation, I had started off taking the Maryland bar. And I took the Maryland bar because at that point I grew up in Maryland, and I was thinking that I was going to end up being in that area. And then I met my wife, and we started dating, and she's from New York. And initially I was trying to make a case to stay in that area where I was and have her move down. But, she started looking for jobs down in D.C. I started looking for jobs out in New York, and whoever found the job first, we'd make that change. And so I had already taken the Maryland bar 3 times. Right. And I failed it. Right. But the thing about it, some of the sections in the bar are similar across the country. Other ones are very state specific. So as I started progressing, what I noticed is that each time I took the bar exam, my score got higher. It get incrementally higher. It wasn't like I was making these major jumps. Right. Each time I was taking the bar and I took it and I scored higher. And so when I got to New York, and by this time my wife and I were dating, I moved up to New York already, and I was studying for the bar, and I took the New York bar. I had taken it 3 times, and I failed it each time. But every time I noticed that my score was getting higher. Right. And on the 6th time, we opened it, and I did not pass it. Right. And I was just like, man, you know what? I'm done with this crap. This is it. I'm so over this. And I told Liv, I was like, I didn't even want to look at the score. I read what they said, and I was like, I'm not even going to get to the part about the score. I'm done. I'm just going to get this. Right. But then, again, this goes back to your alignment. Right. Who are you aligning yourself with? Are they going to allow you to focus? Are they going to allow you to give up on your dreams? Are they going to allow you to wallow in self-pity? Are they just going to sit there and give you a hug and say, it's okay, baby. You don't have to do no more, baby. Just relax yourself, baby. Just sit down here. No. Right. No. Right. You want some people around you who are going to be like, okay, I'm gonna let you wallow in this for like 5 minutes, and then that's it. Right. Get up and get yourself together. Right. And so my wife, she read the whole letter from the bar association, and when she read it, she was like, "Listen, I know you don't want to probably hear this from me, but you need to take this again." I was like, "What?" I said, "What are you talking about, man? I'm over it." I said, listen, you are literally within a few points of passing this thing. You only have, you're about 2 questions away. And when she said that, I was just like, what? Wow. Because I told you, I didn't read the whole thing. Right, of course. See, alignment,
Right.
alignment, man. When
Right.
you align yourself with somebody who is right there with you, willing to push you, willing to see your dreams with you, a wife or not,
Yeah.
wife,
Right.
girlfriend, friend,
Yes.
like boy, homeboys, homegirls, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, if they're willing to push you, like, listen, this is your dream. You can't give up on this.
Right.
This is what you want for you, and I want it for you too.
Right.
She was like, look, take this again. You have to take it at least one more time, and then that's it. And man, I needed to hear it.
Yep.
I needed to hear that.
You did.
And not only did I need to hear, I need to be open to being not open to being just being open to just having the willingness to do it.
Right. Right.
And so when she told me that, I said, okay, no, you're right. I have one more in me. Mm-hmm. And I remember, man, when it came time for me to start studying for that thing again, I remember telling the universe, like, look, I'm doing this one more time. Right. And this is going to be it. I'm passing this thing, and this is it. I'm moving on with my life. And sometimes it's just a matter of outlasting stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes your success is tied up in your ability to hang on just a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. Longer than someone else, longer than another person, longer than another situation. And the universe will be like, you know what? This person, they obviously want it. They're not giving up. Let's go on and find ourselves another person who would just give up. Right. Let's focus our attention there.
Right. Most definitely.
Keep going.
Yes.
Messages keep going. Yeah. Don't stop. Keep pushing towards your dreams. Because look, just like I said earlier, God will illuminate the path step by step. Mm-hmm. Then there's some times where you're going to get a windfall of information that can set you up for a home run.
Yep.
Where not only are you going from base to base, but you're getting a home run. You're going around 3-4 bases.
Yep. That's true.
And that would be that, man. Yeah, man. That's what that is, man. It's like just the alignment there. Just like you said, that alignment is so pivotal. You really have to look at the people in your circle. Are they for you, right, or are they against you?
Right.
Are they putting gas on the fire? Or are they putting water on the fire? Are they dousing it out?
Right.
Right. It's so pivotal. And, I know sometimes we have friends who have, we've known them for years. Mm-hmm. But sometimes there's a situation where you outgrow your friendships.
Right.
And that's not to say they're a bad person.
Nope.
I'm not saying that about anybody. No, right. I'm not saying that at all. No. But what I am saying is that sometimes the growth that you might have might appear as a threat to your friends who aren't growing. Mm. And if that's the case, sometimes, they may not intentionally go out of their way to hamper you from going where you need to go. But sometimes they will want you to stay where they are.
Right.
Because they don't see it for themselves.
Right.
And you might have to separate yourself from that.
Right.
But only you can make that decision. That's where the self-responsibility comes in, because what's going to happen is if you stay around that too long, you'll begin to resent them.
Right.
When in reality, you're resenting yourself.
There you go.
And, so you have to figure that out. And sometimes, look, it requires you to make the tough decisions. It requires you to determine, like, listen, I can no longer associate with this person. Mm-hmm. Or if that person is doing things like too much drugs, too much alcohol, right, at a certain point, you have to cut that stuff back.
Right.
You can't become dependent on those things. Focus on you. Focus on your development. Mm-hmm. Focus on your growth. Man, Montel, I'm sorry, I'm about to go on a tangent.
No, man, no. Actually, you're good, but you're good, man. Honestly, like, the part of why I wanted, like, these different conversations to be had in this main conversation was because I think that's what people need to hear. Like, a lot of times we don't realize that a lot of our decisions, are based off of our tendencies and what we do. It's from inside. It's not with outside. A lot of the stuff that we're doing, we're always being, we feel like life is throwing it at us, when in reality, you're living your life in response to those things, as opposed to dealing with it in the process of, okay, What can I do to fix it from the inside? How can I deal with this, and how can I take this on? So no, man, you dropping gems. I'm just letting you do it. So we got a couple more questions, El. I'm gonna wrap this up because I know you got a business to run, things to do. But listen, I want to talk to you about, like, there was something in the last chapter, man, and I mean, I could have talked to you about a lot of different things, but it's kind of funny. This conversation kind of evolved in the way I wanted in my questions, so I haven't asked some of my questions because we've been here for a couple hours knowing us. But there's one particular thing, man, that you talked about in chapter 10 about you having the ability to, the concept of being equipped with everything you need inside of you. Can you talk to everybody about what that means and how you took that to use that to rise to the occasion and conquer what you did in the process of getting, obviously, your goals accomplished and getting to where you are now?
Yes, yeah. So I'm a man of faith. I believe in God. I grew up in the Christian church. And one thing I find interesting is that I feel like sometimes we don't talk about it enough, about how you came to this world perfectly equipped with everything that you need. Everything that you need. And the reason why I say that is because, there might be a need for a little bit more development in certain areas, but that doesn't mean that you didn't come with that thing inside of you already. Yeah, it might need to be developed a little bit more. Maybe it might need to be fine-tuned a little bit more. But the dream came with you. It's almost like this. In nature, everything comes with the seed already inside of it. Right? Everything comes with the seed already inside of it. So, for example, you have the small little oak tree. You have a small little oak seed. You sprinkle that in the ground, and this major oak tree gets built. Or you have an apple. The apple always has seeds in the middle. You come with everything that you need. When we were born, like we came with a heart, we came with lungs, we came with drive, we came with bones, we came with our eyesight, we came with our fingers, our ears. We came with these things. And in the same way, you also came with your dreams. You came with your desires. You came with your hopes and dreams and gifts and talents. They weren't given to anybody else. So just like the tangible things that we can see, like you can see my eyes, you can see my hands, you can see my bones and stuff. But the intangible things, just as well. You came with those things. You were gifted those things. And nobody can take that away from you. And so the whole point there was that we are perfectly and wonderfully made. And I'm not just saying that just because it's a cheesy, cliche thing to say. No. God equipped each one of us to do a certain task. That dream that you had, that when you wake up in the morning or when you go to sleep, you're dreaming like, man, I wonder what life would be like if I wonder how it would be like if I did this. Or I would love to star in this movie. Or I would love to do this. I would love to do that. Those are dreams. Those are small little pictures of the life that you're supposed to be living. And then, so for example, like, then it's up to you to put in the work. Because, see, listen, when God made man and the man had a vision for a dream, when God made man and the man had a vision for a chair, he didn't give him a chair. He said, go cut the tree down.
There you go.
Go cut the tree down. Fasten the tree. Shave out the pieces of the back, shave out the legs, shave out the seat, and put it together. So God's not going to give you this ready-made life. Like, He's going to give you the dreams. Then it's up to you to do the work. And we live in this society where people would like to press 1 on the microwave and then have it go for a minute. Press 2 on the microwave and have it go for 2 minutes or 3 minutes and just be able to walk away. But God didn't make it like that. God made it such that we do the work. And in a lot of cases, the dream is given to you, but the excitement, the learning, the challenge is all in the journey. That's where you begin to unpack who you really are, is in the journey. not necessarily at the end goal, because sometimes by the time you get to the end goal, you're like, I did it.
Right.
I did it.
Right.
Now I'm ready to move on to the next thing. See, so the journey, the things that you go through, the experiences, like, so for example, like Montel, like you, like even with you and your real estate business,
right.
the successes that you currently have, I would venture to say that you didn't necessarily get them overnight. You had to learn things, and now you know so many things that back in the day, if you could tell yourself years ago all the things that you need to do, you know,
Man,
you wouldn't be the person you are.
Dude, I'd be on even a higher level even now if I'd have took those, if I had that at that time. And it's kind of funny you say that.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I always take it as. But it took a lot of work. It took effort. It took 2+ years of building and doing the same thing you did. I moved, you know, from down south to up north to follow my wife in her career path, and, you know, knowing where she was going in her life. And I was like, okay, I can do real estate anywhere. So, but I had to build that.
Right.
It took me a couple of years, to come from the south to up there, you know, not on top of getting the licenses and all the requirements that in order to be a practicing, you know, realtor, but
and the network
right. And all that stuff. I had to build all of that over a couple of years.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And the clients and all that stuff. So for me, you're absolutely right. Like, it's not given overnight, but to me, it's like the biggest thing that I learned, and the person, and I've given him this credit, so I don't have a problem name dropping him right now. Ryan Serhant had a conversation with me, and we literally talked about the fact that he told me, like, look, it's going to be hard work, but if you can overcome that first year and put in the hard work and do this and do the third, you're going to see and achieve the dreams that you want in regards to how you want to. So for me, that was the other thing that registered. It was like, hey, this ain't going to be easy, so I ain't even going into it thinking that it's going to be easy. I'm going to have to put some work in.
Right.
I'm going to have to put some serious ground momentum into what I'm trying to do to have everything come into fruition, right? So fast forward all these years later, that's where it all come from. So I always keep that in my mindset. Everything's going to require some work. It's going to require some work.
Right.
So man, I'm glad you said that. So listen, I'm got one more question for you, El, before I let you out of here. But
no worries, man. No worries.
Let's talk about obviously the podcast is called Thrive, Believe, Achieve. I could have put it in different ways in regards to one, but I like the way that it sounded when I did Thrive, Believe, Achieve, because I want people thinking differently.
Right.
And part of why I wanted you on here is exactly the same conversation, right? So I appreciate you doing that. But tell the listeners about what the process, a concept of thriving, believing, and achieving means to you.
Thrive, believe, achieve, bro. You know, it's interesting, man. I love the title. I love that because it's right on point with how we need to be. Mm-hmm. Because you don't achieve without thriving and believing.
Right.
And see, the thing about it is the way I love how you put it too, because you put thrive first, believe second, and then achieve.
Right.
And I don't think you did that. I don't think that was any light, or I think you put some real thought, some real like life experiences taught you that had to be it that way.
Yeah, it did.
Because you're not achieving anything unless you thrive, believe, and then achieve.
That's correct.
I think, things comes by hearing. Right. And hearing. Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is that there's a scripture in Proverbs, man, my mom has always, Proverbs 3, 4, 5, 3, 4 through 6.
Yes.
Just trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path.
Amen.
So the only way that you can even get to the point where you have believing in yourself is until you start to thrive in your mind.
Right.
And at the point that you begin to thrive in your mind, focusing on what it is that you want, focusing in on how you can do it, focusing on how your power, because I believe that thriving and thrive bleeds over into the belief.
Right.
Like once you start to do that, when you start to thrive on the inside and believe in yourself on this inner being that God created you to be, that you are created in his likeness, and you begin to believe that, and you begin to believe in the dreams, and you begin to see yourself living that life, thriving in that life, thriving in your relationships, thriving in your communication, thriving in your bank account, thriving and believing in the successes that are going to come your way, not giving any fuel to the doubts or inhibitions or the hindrances or anything like that, only then will you begin to achieve.
There you go.
So, the interesting thing is that in this world that we live in, I feel like we're so focused on the achieving first, and we don't want to work on the believing.
There you go.
That's why I said, like, when you said thrive, believe, and then achieve, it's so antithetical to the way society is built. But society wants us to be like, look at my bling. Even with social media, oh my gosh, social media, everybody's blinging here and blinging there, and it has this type of car and that type of car. And what society almost wants you to do is they want you to focus on, you need to have these things. Right. You need to have this. You need to have that. People are not talking about how we need to build our inner person up, how we need to build up our mind.
There you go.
Because the way God works, because see, the currency of heaven is faith. It's not, people say the streets of paper will go great.
Right.
But the currency of heaven is faith. But didn't I tell you something? If the streets are paved with gold, that shows you that God's like, okay, it's gold.
All right.
But in our minds, the way God works is through faith.
There you go.
Thriving and believing. Mm-hmm. You thrive and you focus on thriving and believing, you can't help but achieve. And so, that's a whole message, man. I have so much to say about that. But
you're good, man. I appreciate it. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Like that is, you hit it right on the head. I never explained it to anybody why I was doing it. I told my wife it, and I had some conversations with some of my illustrators when we were doing the design of the podcast, but nobody ever asked me that question. But to be honest with you, you explained it. That's exactly why, I put it that way. Because I want the hard work to be done in removing the obstacles and the setbacks and the stuff that we use to complain about, and removing that bull crap. In my coaching, that's what I do. I'm about unpackaging, holding people accountable. But let's get incremental goals set that we can accomplish right now. Let's start winning. Let's get a win right now, the next 60, 90 days, right? So I don't want you to be thinking so far long where you're like, oh, I can't accomplish anything because my goal is too far out of reach. No, let's you can accomplish some stuff right now. Let's get real. What can we do? What's your problem? What can we solve? What can we fix right now? Right. So a whole lot of this is just mindset, right? We need to change our mindsets. If we start believing differently and thinking differently and moving differently, the actions and the achievements will come later once you do the work on getting you, the inside, taken care of. The holistic you. That's important. And so for me, that's why I wanted to do this, to have this conversation, to break it down, man. And just, you hit on the whole points without me having to go. I was just kind of misleading, but you were just basically taking it the exactly way that what I wanted it to be received, because I think it's time that we start focusing on the material things of life and start focusing on the things on the inner that really bring you the type of peace and resolve that you want in life, and the things that you want to accomplish. And those things, trust me, from a dude I've been homeless a couple of times in life. I've gone through every little story and narrative of what some people would call a failure. But to be honest with you, the one reason why I'm able to stand here before people and hold my head up is because I did exactly what you did. The hard work that it required, right, to get right what I needed to get right and fix what I needed to fix so I can live in my own purpose-driven design life, right? So that's the goal. So for me, that's why having you and launching this the way that I'm doing it, that's why I'm having you, and that's why I'm glad that everything's by design. You did this book, it was by design because it needed to be talked about. Design, People don't talk about that stuff enough. So for me, this is huge. It was critical. And man, I just wanted you to know that I'm so appreciative. I'm so grateful, bro. Like, it ain't just because we brothers that I'm doing this, but even if we weren't brothers and we were just in each other's sphere, I would still want to put you on and gaslight you because I think that's important. Like, we are definitions of being able to support one another wholeheartedly without any jealousy, envy, or any other things that comes into life. And for me, that's why I like to live by design. I like to live authentically through the relationships of what I create for myself, but also being in those relationships. Hey, let's help each other. Let's grow. Let's help. Let's do this the right way, because we can do this without having any intents of any other purpose. But look, guys, again, look up. Y'all need to get it. It's written by the great author in the making, Elman Woodson. I can't wait till his next book, because I'm putting it out there. Him and I already talked about this. It's coming at some point. He'll let y'all know on his platforms of where that's coming. But I need y'all to go get this book. Go get it today.
Yes,
I
please.
swear for God, it will. And that don't even sound right, but that's the Southern in me. Like, listen, it's going to empower you. It's going to help you. It's going to help you get to places that you don't even realize that you can do if you just be willing to do the hard work. Like, look, obstacles are going to happen in life, but the reality is you are not. The destination is not where you are in failure. It's where you're going to go at success when you do the right things from the mental standpoint. Right. Take care of your health. Take care of your mental state. Take care of the things that you want and live your life by design. And I guarantee you looking up is going to help you get there. So, bro, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you again. And to all of our listeners out there today on this podcast, this is Thrive, Believe, Achieve podcast. Of course, featuring myself, Montel Fleming, and all my amazing guests down in the future. And L is just one of many that I'm going to start bringing onto you on a monthly basis, just to start educating, uplifting, and having some real conversations about unpacking baggages and moving forward with life. Because failure is not the destination, okay? So, peace and love to everybody out there. L, I love you, my bro. I appreciate you.
Love you, bro.
And,
love you, man.
We're going to keep killing it in life, man. But we're going to talk a little bit, bro. We're off the circle on this conversation. But I got to let you go. But I'm going to talk to you soon, all right? Love to live, the wife.
Love you, man. Love the family, man.
You know it, man. I appreciate you, my bro. But everybody enjoy yourselves. Enjoy your day, all right? Appreciate you.
Have a blessed one, man.
All right, you too, man.